For more, I want to bring in LaTosha Brown, co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund. LaTosha, this is important. This board already passed multiple rules in August that could impact certification of election results. Even the Republican Secretary of State Raffensperger in that state, he's against this. How did we get to this point?
You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. When you look at the board, though, you have to understand the board, the makeup of the board. The makeup of the board is that there's a 5-member board. 3 of the members of the board were pro-Trumpers. So Trump has essentially taken over the election board in the same state that he wanted to find quite 11,000 votes. And he's actually essentially taken over the election board with 3 people who are on the board, quite frankly, I think, to sabotage the election. Not only are there those 2 rules around certification, what do? That ultimately you can have a local election official to say that they're not really satisfied with the election, and therefore they're going to delay the process of certification. We've seen that both on the Republican side and the Democrat side, those election officials that have run elections and have the experience of doing that are saying no, not to do that. Then when you look at what's really interesting is if these rules pass on tomorrow, as this election board is slating them to do, to push forward, they don't come in effect until the day after early voting starts in the state of Georgia and 22 days before November 5th with the election. So clearly there's something that is awry here.
Okay, so just slow this down for me. So essentially, that phone call Donald Trump made to find 11,000 votes, and Raffensperger and others told him to pound salt. This time around, the people that he would be calling, the people he would be relying on to find those fictional 11,000 votes would potentially be willing to comply?
It gets worse than that what we may look at is not even certifying the votes that are cast. That there's already rules that are in place in the state of Georgia to protect the integrity of the election. I think there's a number of things that he's seeking to do. One, I think he's trying to I think there's an effort to thwart the results of the election, to delay the certification process, but also to actually make sure that the public does not trust the election results. So let's say that there is a landslide, or let's say that Vice President Kamala Harris wins the state of Georgia. Now you're bringing this air of suspicion to actually do exactly what Trump wanted to happen last time, that those results are considered that they're not legitimate. And so that is the core problem.
VP Harris is actually headed to Georgia tomorrow to speak about abortion rights, and we've spent a lot of time over the last week talking about the stories about the 2 women who died after being denied reproductive care. How much is this issue going to motivate voters in Georgia?
I think women in particular, particularly young women, all of the young women that I've been talking to really feel very deeply about this particular issue. And then you see 2 women. What's really interesting about this report that ProPublica put out is that ultimately both of these lives, this was unnecessary. It was completely preventable. That had we not had the abortion ban in the state of Georgia, that it was completely preventable. What we saw is that even today, there was a call that I participated on today that was put on by a sister song that they've been organizing. Over 300 young women from all over the state joined that call, that they are very frustrated and angry, and they're planning actions in the state to actually address this. This is something that we're saying Georgia is ground zero. The irony around it is Georgia is also a state that has one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the country. So here you have a state that does not have good health care options for women who are having children. This is a state that you've actually literally taken away their reproductive rights, right? But this is also a state that there are places in the state of Georgia where there's not an OBGYN for almost 100 miles. So this is a really substantial problem in the state.
LaTosha, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for educating us. Really important stuff. We'll be right back.